I was wondering so people must have somewhat polarized viewpoints at times, or come at their own issues from different perspectives within the forum itself.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if that ever complicates it when it's trying to act a kind of a cohesive unit.
I think it works both ways. I mean, so far it has been the people much more active in the forum, though we have different emphasis, different viewpoints and type of thing, but at least some of the critical issues which we have been able to focus, we have been able to carry through the entire forum as one group and things. But that does not mean that there are no different opinions. There are different opinions. Now, I may not say that all dams are bad, or absolutely no dam should be there anywhere. But there may be some people in the forum itself saying that okay, dams should not be there and water should be, rivers should be allowed to flow completely and other type of things. But there are many other major substantive issues in which we might agree and things. So, for example, we are now saying things that even if you are to, let's say, store some water and things, there are different ways of doing it. There are different ways of storing water or managing larger water sources without creating too much of either social or ecological disturbances or displacements, for example. There are different ways of doing things. So it also then opens up a different pathway to explore new things, to come up with this. So in that, I think that gives you space for different people to work together. Now, if your perspective is that, okay, for the greater common good, certain sections of people have to always suffer, then that viewpoint cannot be an integrative viewpoint. Then you will have polarization. That's why you find one lot of polarization around, especially on the discussion about or discourse around dams in India, because we are not able to put together any type of a framework in which how do you minimize things, negative impacts of dams and type of things. We can utilize certain part of that water without creating too much of both social costs or ecological and other type of things. So foreign has been able to bring in some of these new perspectives into things around which people can discuss or can relate to each other at least. So I think we have been able to come up with some of these things. So it has been a pretty difficult task to keep different viewpoints together, but still steer with certain minimum type of program which takes everybody along. Because so that's why forum is not a one single organization, and we would not even attempt that way. That's why we always call it a network of people grouped together who have certain major concerns. Now that does not mean that those major concerns we have to agree with all the details of everything. So that's not the purpose. So major concerns that, for example, everybody is committed to sustainability, for example. We believe that water need to be equitably distributed, or every people, irrespective of whether the type of resources they hold, whether it is of land or anything else, everybody should get certain type of access to water which can meet their livelihood needs. We also believe that water needs to be managed in a much more democratic manner with actual participation of people. We also believe that the policies, water policies should reflect all these major concerns and type of things. So there are certain major agreements on some of the substantive issues. Now, how will you define equity? What does that equity mean? Those details, there may be differences, and I think we should be able to live with those differences. So if you keep it as a loose network in which people come together as per their own interests and as per their own commitment and type of thing, then there are no major problems. But if you try to regimentize it too much, you bring in too many of organizational disciplines, say that no, this is our line, like a communist party, for example. Because you have a party line and those who don't agree with that party line are not part of the. So any network don't work that way. So we keep it that flexibility we maintain.
Okay, so you told me a bit about kind of the values and principles and the composition of the forum, and so I was also wondering in the lifetime of the forum, from when it started kind of with just several individuals to growing to where it is now with over 100 individuals and organizations. I was wondering what kinds of work has it done in that time?
Okay, that's a good question. In fact, I wanted to mention at the beginning that forum's birth was more of an accident than a designed one.
Yeah.
Because it's not that some of us met together with the idea that we need to form a forum and we formed that forum. It was not like that. I would say that the beginning was sometime around 2005 or something, where this Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, that was the time they had started a project in around Hyderabad, ICRISAT, this institution, international institution which does research on tropical crops and other type of things. So there they set up an office by WWF to look at the freshwater issues. There's a freshwater initiative by them. And a friend of mine, Dr. Gujja, in fact he's the one who actually initiated this whole idea about starting the forum to some extent. So he was heading that project there on behalf of WWF. So with this initiative they had done some type of a very small documentation. I think it's about 15 to 20 cases of very well-known water conflicts in, let's say, southern part of India. So there was a small discussion or a workshop which was held in Bangalore in 2005 to discuss the draft of that report. It was 20 cases or something. So I was also invited there, and then we all discussed that type of issue. But that discussion threw open for a lot of new issues. There was complexity involved in when we talk about water conflicts. And it also brought to the notice that we know very little about the different type of conflicts that are unfolding in the country. And that was the time it struck us saying that we need to make a coordinated and concerted networked effort to understand water conflicts in all its nuances and complexity and scales and different layers of issues involved in things. So that's how when we took a decision saying that okay, let's make a coordinated beginning, and we thought we should start a loose network, something called Forum for Policy Dialogue on Water Conflicts in India. So all those people who were there and who want to be part of that, we formed the nucleus of that group. So there are about 7-8 people or institutions that are part of that. And WWF put in some resources to start the work. So the first mandate of the forum was that to have a very extensive documentation of water conflicts in the country.
Yeah.
So the first effort or first work we did, which took about nearly 2 years or something, is to document different types of water conflicts. We're not saying that we have documented all the conflicts. That is impossible. So there are, as our book says, there are million words which is taking place. So what we try to do is that we try to understand what are the type of different types of conflicts and pick certain cases which fits into certain types.
Yeah.
So that you have a good typology developed, and there are then cases to back it up, and so that you have good case studies and things. So we nearly brought something about 100 authors together to do this documentation across the country, and so we have something about 63 case studies which came out of that effort.
And that's all contained in a volume? In
a volume. There's a book called Water Conflicts in India, A Million Rivers in the Making, which was brought out in 2008 or 9 by Routledge. So that contains the 63 case studies. It also has all the type of conflicts. Also has an introductory chapter. So what we did was that we sent these case studies, each type of case study, to one of the experts, a very well-known people in that particular area, to review them and write a review article. So they engage with those case studies, the type of common issues they're bringing out, and also what will be the approach if you have to engage with that type of a conflict. Now, for example, we brought in a person called Ramaswamy Iyer. He's one of the most known person in the country on some of the water issues. So he wrote a review piece on transboundary water conflicts. Transboundary, when I say both, includes transnational, like between India and Pakistan or India and Bangladesh, India and Nepal, that type of thing, and also interstate conflicts. You may have most of our major rivers are interstate rivers, and there are a whole lot of conflicts around in sharing of the waters from these rivers. So you have a Kaveri conflict, you have a Krishna conflict, you have conflicts around Narmada. So all these rivers are all contested terrains today. So he wrote a very interesting review piece for the transboundary type of water conflicts. We had Biksham Gujja wrote about contending water uses, for example. You have about 8 to 10 case studies on contending water uses. So he reviewed the entire type of thing, wrote a review article. We have two people called Bharat Patankar and another person, Anand Padke, wrote a review article on the whole question of dams and displacement related conflicts. So similarly, so we got Sunita Narayan from CSE, Center for Science and Environment, wrote a review piece on privatization, because privatization is also another type of conflict which are coming up now. So we got different people who are quite well known in their own areas to write review articles. Then as editors, the editors of book, there were about 5 of us who edited the whole book. We also wrote an introductory piece which gives a whole theoretical background and how we have tried to tie up all these conflicts together. And also it has a section what could be the broad way out if you have to engage with this. It's a very broad article, but it's not that each conflict we have tried to engage with that in that text. So the strength of that book has been that for the first time we could bring together different types of conflicts into one source.
Yes.
That was the strength of the book, and also we could bring together academics and activists together in writing that. We could have just commissioned a couple of people to write all these case studies. It was impossible. Instead of that, we got people from different areas, activists who are first-time writers, for example, also to contribute. So that gives interesting, what you call, otherwise it becomes a very drab academic exercise.
Yes.
So the strength of the book is that it's not just purely academic, or I wouldn't say that it's a very serious academic work, but the strength is that it has been able to bring together all these sets of people together as a network to write this, different case studies and type of a thing. And the whole process itself actually built up the forum.
Yes.
Because also another people also got linked up with forums work and type of a thing. And so each state today we have people there. We say that okay, we are to organize something in Bihar today. We can actually count on a few people there who have been already associated with forums work to some extent, most of the states in India. So that is how this whole forums network could develop. So book helped. In fact, apparently the book also sold quite well because it's already reprinted in the second.
Is it?
Yeah, second reprinted in the So doing well, because I think there was a gap or there was some type of a vacuum for this type of a thing.
Yeah.
So you also feel that the book is not complete also because there are other types of conflicts we have not been able to engage. For example, we have not done anything about the whole question of floods and conflicts, for example. We have not done much work on that. So at the moment, forum is doing this work. We are trying to document some 50 to 20 cases of different types of conflicts around flood as a phenomenon. Otherwise, very often conflicts are related only to scarcity type of a thing.
Yeah.
Now, how do you look at floods from this perspective of conflicts? So, one of our own steering committee members, Eklavya Prasad, is coordinating that effort. Or we also found that in the present book, we don't have too much of case studies from the northeastern part of India. And northeastern part of India is also, because the whole hydropower development and various type of huge projects coming up, there are different types of water-related conflicts coming up there. And it's also an area with very rich different type of ethnicity and cultural and other type of things. So it's all getting together and creating all of different distinctions between different states, upstream, downstream, communities, all of the outsiders and resources are being pumped in because of the whole dam construction and other type of thing.
Yeah.
That is creating havoc in the traditional way of lives of people, their cultural values and all type of things. So we are already in a very advanced stage of bringing out a compendium on water conflicts in the Northeast. So there are efforts of that type of thing. So one of the first efforts of forum, I would say, is that try to understand water conflicts through documenting and getting people together who have been working on these issues. And our premise is that understanding conflicts is the first step towards any type of even developing an approach to resolving a conflict. So that is the whole thing. Second, we also feel that a whole lot of debate or discussion, even in the popular media, about water conflicts are much more emotional than backed up by data and analysis and everything, because water conflicts are very emotive issues. And people look at the same phenomena from different lenses, depending on where you are placed.
Yeah.
Now, for example, if you have an interstate conflict, if you are, let's say, take the case of Kaveri, if you are in Karnataka, you have a different perspective, and if you are in Tamil Nadu, you have a different perspective. Data may be the same. So we take very often very chauvinistic type of stance or very localized stance about some of these issues and things, including the media people. So we thought that at least if you bring these things into the public, then it can create some type of public debate or informed debate about some of these conflicts, and that would help in a long-term basis to at least engage with some of these conflicts in a much scientific manner and type of thing. So that is the whole purpose. The second type of work we did in the forum is also to some type of media outreach. Because we find that within the water conflict, media is a very important player. Either in exacerbating conflicts, to giving rise to new conflicts, or even they have a role to shape public opinion. So if there are responsible journalists or media people who can engage with this type of a thing, then it can also help in resolving conflicts, or at least containing some of the after effects of type of a thing. So what we did was that we made a very conscious effort to engage with the media, print media especially. So at least in 5 to 6 states in the country, I think Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra, Maharashtra, I think Chhattisgarh, type of places, we tied up with one of the very leading newspapers, and we told them that let's make a common announcement to the public. Some of the states, what they did, they worked only with the journalists, the print. You have the Mufusal towns or the what you call the stingers, who actually create the stories at the very local levels and things. So you announce a competition for them, saying that anybody can send in a local water conflict, what they know about it, and write it in a particular way and things. And there was a committee to screen all these entries which came, and the best 5 to 10 were given prizes, and they were also published in the newspaper, in those newspapers. In Maharashtra experience, we had tied up with a leading newspaper called the Lok Satta, and we got something close to 400 entries. People wrote about it, different type of conflicts which we have not even heard about it. And there was a committee which went through that. We organized a huge function here in Pune to give awards or prizes to these people, recognize their contribution, and all the 10 selected cases were published in Lok Satta, one after the other. So that gave a lot